20 Treasures, Leonie Patterson from Royal Botanic Garden, Edinburgh, talks about a photograph of the original palm house from 1855.
We nominated this photograph because it highlights the photographic collections that are held at the Royal Botanic Garden, Edinburgh. I think the photographic collections are maybe less well known than other collections, but they're a key tool in supporting the scientific and horticultural work of the garden. But this photograph is a little different from all the other ones that we have, in that it looks different. I've got it here, I'll just get it out of its envelope. It's on writing paper as opposed to photographic paper. And if you hold it up to the light, it's got a watermark on it, which reads R. Turner Patent Tolbotite, which tells us that it's a tolbotite or a calotype, which is a process that was invented by Henry Fox Talbot in the 1840s. So we think this photograph was produced by a Dr. James Duncan in 1855. So the process would still have been quite new at that point. And like I say, it's an image of our glass houses, we think taken in 1855, and we can see the end of one of the ranges. But the key point of the photograph is that in the distance we can see our octagonal palm house with palm fronds projecting through the roof of the building, and these fronds have been highlighted in an ink as well to make sure that we're really sure that we can see them. The ink is darker than the rest of the photograph, but we think it would have reflected the colour that the photograph would have originally been. And it was used, importantly, it was sent down to the Parliament in Westminster in the 1850s as part of our bid for funding for a new palm house. And I think a photograph in those days, in the 1850s, coming down to Parliament would have been a really strong lobbying tool, I would have thought. And for them to actually see the palm house with the palm leaves coming through the roof, I think would have been quite striking. And it was successful, and it got us the money to build the new temperate palm house, which now sits in front of it. So I don't know if any of the listeners will be familiar with the palm house complex at the gardens. Is that it looks like it's maybe just one building, but it's actually two palm houses, one in front of the other. So in this photograph we have the one that's behind, and the new temperate palm house was built a few years later with the money that this photograph was able to secure in front of it, and that'll be the one that people are probably more familiar with. I think adding to the interest, I think, and the poignancy of the photograph is that it's accompanied by a note that was written by the architect of the new palm house, Robert Matheson. He's writing to the garden to say that we were successful and we got the money, and that he's let the Regis Keeper know. But on the top of the note, the head gardener at the time, James McNabb, has noted that the note arrived at the garden on the 31st of March 1856, and he says this note reached the gardens at 12:15 o'clock while the castle guns were firing for the peace. And when I looked this up, this is signifying the end of the Crimean War, an event that James McNabb obviously thought was so important that he felt the need to write it on the note, which I think is quite significant. I guess he was getting two pieces of good news in one day, and I think with all the things that are happening in Europe at the moment, it's quite a sort of, it signifies, I think, with what we're experiencing now as well, the fact that the peace and the Crimea was important to them in 1855 too. So I think it's a really lovely object, and it's one of my favourites in the collection. I think the photo's of local importance because it's our earliest photograph that's in our collection, and it shows an aspect of the garden that's often not seen. And it also highlights that growing plants, especially those from warmer climates, so that people in Edinburgh and Scotland can appreciate and experience and learn about these plants, is not easy or cheap, and it requires resources. And I think because we're funded by the taxpayer, it's important, I suppose, to know and recognise that the RBGE plays an important role in the understanding and the conservation of these plants, and that the glass houses are an important part of that. But throughout our history, our glass houses have always and will always require maintenance, conservation, and every now and again replacement. So the photograph also ties in with what's happening here with our Biomes project at the moment, which aims to refurbish our existing houses, including the one in the photograph, and also add a new glass house to the collection too, preserving the 4,000 plus species that thrive in these iconic structures. So this photograph also allows us to look to our past, but also it connects us to our future too. And I think that's an important thing that the archives do, isn't it? They've got many important attributes, but this one gives us the ability to tell our own stories. And I think this one does it admirably.
For more information, visit www.scottisharchives.org.uk/treasures.